Hey, welcome back. This episode is going to be just a little different because this episode is specifically for flight instructors, CFIs. So if you're not a CFI, maybe click over to another video because I don't want to weird you out. But if you are a CFI, hang out because I'm going to share something that you really need to know. Being a CFI is the coolest gig on the planet. It is a real point of pride. You got there. You got through your private, your instrument, your commercial. You did all the written tests. You did all the training for your FOI, Fundamentals of Instruction. You went on that dreaded CFI check ride and you passed it. This is a huge accomplishment. Pat yourself on the back. It's great. But there's something we have to be aware of as we work as a CFI. There's no distinction between the CFI with 30 years experience and the CFI with 30 minutes experience. And what is true for every single CFI on the planet, at some point, we dealt with our first student. And we were probably not all that experienced as pilots at that point either. Although we're a new CFI, we feel like we're an experienced pilot, but we might only have 300 hours or 400 hours, which in the bigger scheme of things, not that much. One of these days, and it might be with your first student or your fifth or your 23rd, at some point in your career, somebody's going to ask you a question that you legitimately don't know the answer to. This part's important. It is critical to your students' success that they have confidence in you, the CFI. They have to believe that you're honest, that you have a high level of integrity, a high level of professionalism, and you actually know what you're doing. Unfortunately, because people are people, they will often think you know everything. And the truth is, none of us knows everything. The day will come when your student turns to you and says, "Hey, what's the answer to this?" Maybe you say to yourself, "I don't know." Or maybe you say to yourself, "Gee, I faced this about 2 years ago and the answer then was this, but is that still the answer?" Everything changes over time. The regulations have certainly changed. How we deal with airspace has changed. The way we absorb new information, whether that's through the radio or through weather, it doesn't matter. Everything changes. So we want to be giving our students current, accurate, true information every time we deal with them. Here's the solution to this, and it really does work. When your student asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, instead of making something up that may or may not be true, or telling them something that you think was true from a couple of years ago but you can't quite remember, turn that around on them and make it a truly educational experience. "Well, Billy, that's a great question, but I won't always be here. You're training for your certificate and you're getting really close, so how would you find that answer if I wasn't here?" And little Billy says, "I guess I'd look it up." Yeah, great. Where would we look it up? Would we look that up in the Federal Aviation Regulations or in the Aeronautical Information Manual or the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Activity or the Airplane Flying Handbook? The point is, it's probably going to be an official document, something from the FAA or the aircraft manufacturer like the Aircraft Flight Manual. That's the thing that really gives the student an accurate answer without ever giving them the sense that you didn't know the answer to the question. You help them look it up and they say, well, maybe the question has to do with how do I enter the pattern at a non-towered field? Great, let's look that up. Where would it be? Well, that's general operating rules, so that would be Part 91. That's right. Let's go look it up. And we do. And we find 91.126 and it answers the question for us. Or maybe we ask, "Hey, I just got my certificate or I'm about to get my certificate. Do I have to do a flight review right away? Or do I wait for 2 years or is it 24 months? Where would we find that answer? That's a certification question, so that would be in Part 61. Great, Billy. Let's look up Part 61 and find it. Billy, your student, gets to go through the process of looking up their own information. Billy never knows you didn't know the actual answer, and you get to find the true answer at the same time. This might seem like a little skeevy trick, but it's not. This is how we do research. This is how we look things up. I could just as easily say, well, Billy, I think I remember that from a couple of years ago. Let me look it up and I'll get back to you in 10 minutes. But Billy doesn't learn anything from that. I just gave him information. But if I teach Billy how to solve his own problems, how to look up his own information, how to confirm what he believes to be true actually is true, I've done my job as a CFI and I've made Billy a better student. Ironically, through that process, I become a better CFI. Look, this happens to all of us. There is no way around it. Even if you've been teaching for 30 years, someday somebody's going to ask you a question you just don't have the answer to right off the top of your head. That doesn't mean you're a bad pilot. It doesn't mean you're a bad flight instructor. It means you recognize things change and maybe I should look this up before I just tell somebody what I think. That's why on Mad Props, we often put in our little titles, what is the reference to that? Because it's not my opinion. That does no good to share with you or anybody else my opinion. What we really want to do is share information about the specific aircraft we're flying. What is the clean stall speed? What is the dirty stall speed? What is final approach? 1.3 times VSO. What is VSO? We look it up. 1.3 times VSO, that's our approach speed, unless the book says something different. We can always look up the information we need, and we should always look up the information we need because it changes over time, and we need to be accurate to be safe. By giving our students the tools they need to look up information that they can be confident is accurate, gives them a huge edge because they'll take that on with them as they fly, and they won't just try to pull things out of their memory. They'll actually look it up. And when somebody down the road asks them, even if they're a sport pilot, a private pilot, instrument rated or not, and says, hey, what do you think this procedure should be? They can say, well, let's go look that up. It's true for right-of-way rules. It's true for speeds. It's true for airspeed below 10,000 feet. Do you know what the speed limit is? All these things are technical details that can easily slip our memory, but they can just as easily be discovered in a very factual manner that we can share with our students to not only make sure they're getting accurate information, but to teach them to be better, safer, more self-confident pilots at the same time. And they never find out that we didn't know the answer to that question until we looked it up with them. This is a real thing. Go ahead and use it. And please, don't take any offense as a CFI that we might be looking down on you saying you're inexperienced. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, and it doesn't matter what kind of aircraft you're flying. There's always something we don't know, but there's never something we can't find out. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you being here. I hope you get good use out of that. It's worked for me for well over 30 years and it has never let me down. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you had a student ask you a question you didn't know the answer to and you have a better solution? Let us know. Let's start that community growing where we can share best practices with each other because you're a professional. And we should act like professionals, and your students are your clients, and they deserve our best effort. So let's do the best we can for them and the best for ourselves. And I'll see you right back here next time on your personal device with another bit of advice or insight or educational material or just plain entertainment from MadPropsAero. See ya.